Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Center for Literacy and Learning. The Science of Reading Learning Academy says welcome. The Center for Literacy and Learning. Our vision is to empower everyone through literacy. Our mission states that we advanced learning and literacy through evidence-based practices in the classroom, home, and community. Today, we will be talking about word work, the why and how of that explicit vocabulary instruction. Today's objectives. What is vocabulary? Vocabulary as it relates to comprehension, tier 1, 2, and 3 words, direct instruction of vocabulary strategies, and etymology as it relates to vocabulary. On this slide, you see the Scarborough's reading rope and the direct relation to the science of reading and vocabulary instruction. Vocabulary plays a unique part in learning how to read. If you can see on the reading rope, it is under the language comprehension. It's held for skilled reading, fluent execution, and coordination of word recognition and text comprehension. Students have to have that breadth, precision, and links for their vocabulary. And in order for them to do that, they have to be explicitly taught vocabulary. So what is vocabulary? Vocabulary is a range of words in which a student understands. Students have both oral vocabulary and print vocabulary, and students who understand more words can read faster with a greater understanding of the content, especially that of complex text. And we know our students today, starting in 3rd grade, are asked to read a variety of complex text. English has the largest vocabulary of any language with well over 650,000 words. The reason English has amassed such a large vocabulary is directly related to its capacity to adopt words and their spellings from many other languages. We will talk more about this later in this presentation. Vocabulary is directly related to reading comprehension. And the ultimate goal, of course, is reading comprehension, but comprehension is very complex. It is said that students need 60,000 words in their lexicon in order to be successful in college. If your oral language isn't developed enough, you cannot keep up. The scientific research on vocabulary instruction reveals that some vocabulary is learned indirectly and that others must be taught directly. Thus, we need a combination of both indirect and direct approaches when teaching our students in the classroom today. If students do not have background knowledge, they can never infer. We must build that background knowledge. So why do we spend time on direct instruction of vocabulary? The simple answer is comprehension. As we just said in the previous slide, if they don't have it, we must give it to them. We must build their background knowledge to help with their vocabulary instruction. And the ultimate goal is and will always be for students to be able to comprehend. Reading comprehension is the ability to process text, understand its meaning, and to integrate with what the reader already knows. Again, vocabulary is directly related to reading comprehension. Isabel Beck says it best when bringing words to life. Simply knowing a word is not an all or nothing concept, but rather a very complex concept. These statistics over the next couple of slides say a lot. Did you know that there's a 30 million word gap between children of different economic backgrounds? 50 years of research has revealed the sad truth that the children of lower income, less educated parents typically enter school with poorer language skills than their more privileged counterparts. By some measures, 5-year-old children of lower socioeconomic status score more than 2 years behind on standardized language development tests by the time they enter school. Young children whose parents read them 5 books a day enter kindergarten, having heard about 1.4 million more words than kids who were never read to. This million word gap that you've heard it labeled as could be one key in explaining differences in vocabulary and reading development, said Jessica Logan, the lead author of the study and assistant professor of educational studies at The Ohio State University. Even kids who are read only 1 book a day will hear about 290,000 more words by age 5 than those who don't regularly read books with a parent or caregiver. Did you know never read to equals they come to school with about 4,662 words? Read to 1 to 2 times a week, 63,570 words. Read to 3 to 5 times a week, 169,520 words. Read to daily, 296,660 words. And read 5 books a day equals 1,483,300 words. That's a lot of words. And this isn't about everyday communication. The words kids hear in books are going to be much more complex, difficult words than they hear just talking to their parents and others in their home. For instance, a children's book may be about penguins in Antarctica, introducing words and concepts that are unlikely to come up in everyday conversation. The words kids hear from books may have special importance to learning to read. Did you know 34% of 4th and 8th graders are reading at or above a proficient level? So what that means is that 66% of students are not proficient readers. So what does that look like for our universities and for our career pathway students? Did you know a student's vocabulary knowledge in the 1st grade can predict their reading achievement all the way through to their junior year in high school when they take the ACT? The more impact vocabulary can have on a student's literacy journey has never been more evident than it is today. A knowledge of rich vocabulary words supports students' ability to comprehend when reading, while in turn, reading comprehension reinforces their attention to language as they deepen their understanding of new texts. There are various types of vocabulary. We have tier 1, 2, and 3, sometimes referred to as basic, sophisticated, technical. You may have even heard it referred to as academic vocabulary. The advantage of having a multi-layered language is its richness of expression. A good writer might select vocabulary to be familiar and down to earth, or to be abstract, formal, and specific. Having all three tiers of vocabulary in your toolbox is necessary to make good readers and good writers. Tiered vocabulary. What is it and why is this important? Word levels are based on frequency, complexity, and meaning. As teachers, we know that a robust vocabulary supports reading comprehension and reinforces understanding of new and difficult texts. Using a tiered approach to vocabulary instruction assists in the development of language acquisition and promotes a strong foundation for literacy across grade levels and content areas. Tier 1 vocabulary. Basic words commonly used in our spoken language. Tier 1 words are high frequency words. They're used over and over again in the course of general conversations. Because Tier 1 words are basic everyday words, most of them are learned through oral communication with family members, peers, or teachers. And there is no need for that specific, direct, explicit instruction with Tier 1 words. Tier 2, or academic vocabulary, as it appears in content areas. Tier 2 words are also referred to as academic vocabulary. They are cross-curricular, appearing frequently across topics and content areas. Tier 2 words are not common words used in conversation, making them ideal candidates for direct instruction. Examples of Tier 2 words include complex, analyze, restrict, ultimate, and foundation. In addition to being cross-curricular, Tier 2 words often have multiple meanings, making them an integral component of reading comprehension. The more students learn high utility Tier 2 words, the better they will be able to comprehend texts that contain those words. Tier 3 vocabulary. Low frequency words that appear in a very certain domain. Tier 3 words consist of low frequency words. They are central to understanding concepts within various academic subjects and should be integrated into content instruction. Examples of Tier 3 words include molecule, tundra, legislature, evaporation, condensation. Now we will move on to strategies that we as teachers and educators can use to teach vocabulary via direct instruction. These routines are systematic and explicit when instructing vocabulary. We will talk about 3 different types of direct instruction. Systematic instructional routines. Direct vocabulary instruction has been proven to increase student ability to understand new contexts by 12 percentile points. That is huge, especially when they are asked to read complex text to which they are unfamiliar. Systematic vocabulary instruction can not only narrow the gap for the economically disadvantaged, but for English language learners as well, and for those with learning disabilities. Robert Marzano conducted 35 years of meta-analysis, noted that much is attributed to home factors, background knowledge, and student motivation. Vocabulary is a pivotal component in increasing background knowledge with strong instruction. Two systematic instructional routines that we are going to talk about today. instructional routines, and vocabulary linking. Students must have at least 6 exposures to words to lock it into their lexicon. Word work is crucial to student achievement. An effective vocabulary program used school-wide clarifies words teachers should focus on and thus helps aid in comprehending context. Research also shows that student achievement can increase by 33 percentile points when it is directly linked to content learning. So sometimes we ask that question, what do I do if my program or curriculum doesn't clarify which words to focus on? Here's what you can do. Step 1, introduce the word with pronunciation. Step 2, introduce the word's meaning in a student-friendly definition. Step 3, illustrate the word with examples and non-examples when appropriate. And step 4, check students' understanding, sentences, or processing questions. Direct instruction should include teaching and modeling strategies for students to learn new words. Teach within context and help students organize words, whether it be through a journal, a comprehension book, a file folder, note cards on rings, a Google Doc. There are many, many varieties of ways that you can organize your students' word work. Remember, systematic instructional, a simple I do, we do, you do. In this slide, we will talk about vocabulary linking, a strategy used across the country. Vocabulary linking has an acronym called LINKS. L stands for list the part. This talks about the term and the definition. I, identify the reminding word, a word that sounds like or makes you think of the vocabulary word. N, note a linking story. This is where you create a sentence or a paragraph. And C, create a linking picture, something that will give you a visual representation of that vocabulary word. And S, the best part, is self-test. Here you can see where we've taken just a simple flashcard. On the front and back, we have outlined the linking steps. On the front side, you can see where we've listed the vocabulary word, list the parts. This is where the vocabulary word is written. On the back is where you will write the meaning of the word, taking care to include multiple definitions if the word has more than one part of speech or usage. This I is where we identify the reminding word back on the front of the card. The reminding word can be something that sounds like the vocabulary word or even has part of that vocabulary word in it. Noting a linking story is on the back of the note card. It's reserved for an illustration. And in my world, stick figures are always welcome. And then a linking story. This is where you will write a sentence modeling appropriate usage after an example in a book, or possibly one that you have come up on your own or with a partner, or even as a whole group in class. And then you can self-test. You can see displayed on the screen where the dotted lines are on the note cards. The students can fold these note cards so that way they can see the word and then see the reminding word to help give them a clue. If they still can't come up with a definition during their self-test time, they can open up the note card and get another clue. This way, a student can take these home and study on their own or study with a sibling or another family member or the students can quiz each other in class. On this slide, you will watch a vocabulary linking video done with a 5th grader. All right, today, Ella, we are going to learn a new vocabulary strategy called vocabulary linking. And it has 5 different steps, and it spells out the word links. So to help us remember what those are, I'm going to put this right here for us, okay? And step 1 talks about the word. So I'm going to introduce a word to you today. And I want you to tell me if you have ever heard of this word before. The word is mortified. Have you ever heard of the word mortified before? No, okay. So the word mortified means like you are in shock. You're scared, like a scared shock. Okay. And so the first thing I want you to do right here, though, where it says step number 1 in term, I want you to write this word mortified down for me. Okay, and I just told you that the word mortified means to be in shock and very what? Scared, very scared. All right, so I'm going to write that for you right here so that you can copy it down in the part that says number 2, and you have to go all the way to the end, okay? So this definition isn't very long, is it? It's very short. It's easy to remember. Okay, you got it. Good. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to come up with what's called a reminding word. And so this part right here, number 3, reminding word, it either has to sound like the word mortified, or you have to, it has to make you think about it, but it has to be a real word. Okay, so that's the important part. It can't be a make-believe word. Okay, so can you think of a word that would remind you of mortified? Horrified. Horrified. I like that. And so, do you know how to spell horrified? Okay, I'll write it for you and you can copy it. There we go. And this works because it has part of the word in it. Horrified and mortified. They have the same what sound? The ending, yep. All right, so the next step is the N, which is to note the linking story. So right here on number 4, we're going to write our story, which really is just like a little sentence. Okay, and in the sentence, you're going to use the word horrified, because this sentence is going to help you remember what that word is. Not necessarily use that word in a sentence, but you're going to use your reminding word. So can you think of a sentence that would use the word horrified in it, that would make you remember that horrified and mortified mean to be very scared or in shock?
I was very horrified when I saw the rat.
Very good. I like that sentence. Can you write that for me right there in that box? I like how you started that sentence with a capital letter. Good, and you had good punctuation too. All right, and so the next step is number 5, where it says to create a linking picture. So this is the C, create. And what you're gonna do is you're just gonna draw a picture. Now you don't have to be an artist, but you just need to draw a picture that would demonstrate to be very scared or in shock, okay? And mine would be sick people, so don't be afraid to do that either, okay? Very good. So your picture says, is that you in this picture? Yes, you're saying what right here? And there's your rat, right? Rat has a couple legs. All right, so that's a good reminding picture. And so the last step for you to be able to check to see if you know this word is we get to fold this little table up, okay? And you kind of just fold it on those lines, just the best. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Fold it back here in the middle. Now, but I got to fold it for you. You've got the word and your reminding word, okay? Can you read the word for me again?
Mortified.
Say it a little bit louder.
Mortified.
Mortified, that's right. And what is your reminding word?
Horrified.
Horrified. And do you remember what the word mortified means? Yes? Okay. What does the word mortified mean?
Very scared or in shock.
Very scared or in shock. You know what? You can check yourself. Watch. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Flip it over. Is that what it means? Yes. So you can check to see if you were right. Now, we're going to pretend like you don't remember on this one, okay? So remember, you don't remember, okay? All right. So Ella, the word is mortified. And your reminding word is what?
Horrified.
Horrified. So do you remember what that means? No, we don't remember what that means. So what you're going to do is you're going to open your little links table up and there's your picture. Can you read your linking story for us?
I was very horrified when I saw the rat.
Very good. And then there's your picture, right? Now, close it back up. Do you remember what the word mortified means? You do. What does it mean?
Very scared and shocked.
Very scared and shocked. Flip it over for me. Are you right? Yes, good job. Give me some knuckles. All right. And so that's how you use the vocabulary linking strategy. You think it might help you in class? Yeah, I do too. Thanks for helping me today, Ella. So as you can see, this child was able to successfully complete the links table in helping her learn a new vocabulary word. All right, today, Ella, we are going to learn the next technique is called the Frayer model for word mapping. This technique requires students to define the target vocabulary word or concepts and apply this information by generating examples and non-examples. This information is placed on a chart that is divided into 4 sections to provide a visual representation for students. This is an example of the Frayer model. Initial instruction about the Frayer model is heavily teacher-directed and requires teacher modeling. Teachers should demonstrate how to complete the graphic organizer by talking through what they are doing and how they are coming up with the information they entered into the different sections. Teachers should teach students how to use textbooks and other subject matter materials to generate and discuss the information for each section. This is an example of a completed Frayer model. This is a social studies example. The term is human migration. You can see the definition, characteristics, examples, and non-examples. The Frayer model is not intended to be used as a worksheet for homework, something that would be no more effective than asking students to simply look up the definitions for a list of assigned words. Discussion is an important element of this practice. By filling out the Frayer model with their classes, teachers help students to apply some of the practices discussed earlier in this module, such as contextualizing terms, actively processing information, and experiencing multiple exposure to terms. The Frayer model, after it has been modeled explicitly and done systematically with your students, can help to create strong vocabulary, strong word work for our students. According to Dr. Carol Tolman, orthographic learning should continue beyond phonics concepts into morphology and etymology. Dr. Tolman is the co-author of Letters, an international literacy expert. Morphology is the study of morphemes. Morphemes are units of meaning in language. Example, prefixes, suffixes, and root words. Etymology is the study of historical development of words, identifying if the morpheme is of Greek, Latin, or Anglo-Saxon origin. Typically, instruction on morphemes and etymology would happen at the end of third grade, progressing into middle school and beyond. Although younger students can easily learn basic morphemes. Dr. Tolman uses the hourglass figure to clearly illustrate the multiple layers of direct instruction teachers should provide, progressing from phonological skills all the way to etymology. Making meaning of one word can unlock many more words. Etymology. And what does that have to do with vocabulary instruction? Etymology is the study of origins of words and how the meaning has changed over time. As I mentioned earlier in this presentation, that we would talk more about this, now's our time. When we understand the etymology and not only the definition, the word becomes more meaningful. And since the word becomes life. One popular example of this is to explore the etymology of the word disaster. It has the prefix dis, D-I-S, meaning not, part, or away. You can probably think of many words that begin with dis. Disconnect, dissatisfied, disinclined. And this particular use, it simply means ill in the same way we'd say ill-used or ill-gotten. You can guess the meaning of the root of the word, can't you? Astro means star. So etymologically, disaster means not in the stars or ill-fated, starred. The etymological meaning implies that something that has happened is very bad because the stars misaligned. This harkens back to the earlier times when people believed that natural disasters were the result of the displeasure of the gods. Words with Greek or Latin roots often can't be easily figured out just by using context clues. So understanding how to look up the root meaning of a word will give children more confidence when they come across a word like this when they're reading. In upper primary school and beyond, the etymology of English vocabulary is taught in relation to the Greek and Latin roots that we find in common use. This can be a great way to teach children about the building blocks of language, such as prefixes and suffixes. Now back to Scarborough's reading rope. You will get more from background knowledge and vocabulary when dealing with language comprehension. These are the two biggest pieces of this rope. The simple view of reading says it all. Printed word recognition times language comprehensions equals gaining, reading to gain meaning, vocabulary, comprehension. That's what we're talking about. Strong reading comprehension can only happen when both decoding and language comprehension are strong. The formula seems simple. Decoding times language equals reading comprehension. If you would like to research this deep dive topic some more, here are the resources that I used in this presentation. Thank you for participating in this deep dive into literacy, which is part of the Science of Reading Learning Academy. Here at the Center for Literacy and Learning, we have many programs and supports for your school or district. Whether through our carefully crafted programs or through a more customized approach, we tackle real-time issues that address language and literacy with proven methods based on the science of reading. The center hosts the Plain Talk About Literacy and Learning Conference each year. We also offer early childhood coaching and support, as well as customizable professional development and support options. For more information about our programs, contact us. We would love to hear from you. And thank you for joining me on my deep dive today about word work and vocabulary instruction.